Good evening, everybody. Welcome back in for another episode of Swiss Cheese Beats. My name is Daniel. This is episode 25. 25? This is episode 25, and to celebrate hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark, we are doing our very first Q&A episode. We're gonna go ahead and call it the 1K-Q&A. Has a nice ring, right? If you happen to be new to the show and this is the very first episode you're stumbling upon, this is definitely not the norm of what we do here on the show. But at the end of this video, you'll see a couple of end screens of videos that you can click on. That'll give you a better idea of what exactly happens on the show here. And should you happen to like it, consider hitting that red subscribe button down below and joining the rest of the community here on the Swiss Cheese Beats channel. But I am very excited about the format of this episode. It's going to be the first time we have a little more direct interaction between you guys and myself. So let's jump right into the questions. We're going to start with a question from Dartboy, and that is, what is my favorite brand of stick? So I don't really have a favorite brand of stick. And the reason that is because I like to choose what tools I'm going to use based on what application I'm involved in. Meaning, if I'm playing drum set and it's a jazz gig, I'm gonna use a certain type of stick. If it's a rock gig, I'm gonna use a different kind of stick. If I'm doing, say, rudimental old school solo stuff, like maybe Pratt stuff or Wilcox stuff, I'm gonna use a different kind of stick for that. It's hard to deny that all the stick companies make quality sticks, and I think if we really wanted to, we could go through each brand and find sticks that we enjoy to play with. So for me, it's more about the sound and the application. So I can't really give you a favorite one. I answered your question, but I didn't answer your question, but I answered your question. You get it. So, right? Okay, we're good. So the next question comes in from Liam, and the question is, what is my favorite DCI show? So I can't really pinpoint one particular show that I would say is my absolute favorite. I first discovered drum corps in the early 90s, and I think that between then and now there have been a slew of just great shows that have everything you want in them. Great execution, great programming, great design, great colors, all of those things that the drum corps really aim to do, which is to get a reaction out of the audience. So just to name a few shows that have really done that for me, I'll start with Star of Indiana 93, Phantom 96, Blue Devils 96, Cavaliers 95, Blue Devils 99, the Machine Show by the Cavaliers, the 06 and 07 Phantom shows, the Scheherazade and Les Mis show from the recent Vanguard. So these are all just different shows that I've seen that again have created a certain reaction from me as I've watched them. I really enjoyed what many drum corps do across the table, but these are just some of the ones that stick out to me as some of my personal favorites. The next question comes in from Mr. NickNick02, and it has to do with writing licks. He states that he wants to start writing licks, but he doesn't want it to come off as hacking. What suggestions or tips would I have in relation to this? So the very first thing I would say to stay away from is the biggest mistake that I think is made when most people are writing licks. And that is, they have a list of things that they think that have to be included in every single lick. They'll write down these 4 or 5 different kind of rudiments they like, and they'll just kind of put them in wherever they think they fit, but it doesn't make any musical sense at all. So it just really sounds like just randomness. You want to have flow, you want to have direction, you want to have musical phrasing. So there are 2 tips that I would suggest to do as you start making your way writing more snare drum like material. The first one would be to put on some kind of background music to establish a tempo and a groove for you to start writing to. This could be a hip hop track, this could be a rock track, any kind of track that has a good groove that you enjoy, and just start writing things to it. Just start drumming to it and see what comes out. I think that this will keep you focused on an overall music perspective rather than, well, I have to do this and I have to include this, because I think most people want to make this lick that's probably in their minds the most epic thing that anyone's ever seen, but it never comes out that way. I mean, and even when you're done and you have like 8 bars or 16 bars or whatever it is, you're gonna go back and you're probably gonna revise it. So that's the first tip. The second tip I would suggest is to limit yourself to use of certain rhythms only to force your creativity to come out of the box a little more. So write an 8-bar phrase, and the only rhythms you can use are 1/8 notes, quarter notes, and 16th notes. No triplets. Use different articulations, use different stickings, use different dynamics. Don't forget to use rests as well. Then maybe write one where you add triplets. Then maybe write another one where you add triplets as well as some kind of rolls or diddles. Force yourself to be creative with less. And I think that'll really open your eyes as to just how much you're really capable of doing, rather than taking a whole conglomerate of everything possible and then having to pick and choose from that. There's actually a second question to Mr. Nicknick's question, which I think is fairly reasonable to answer here on the show, and that is, who was I cheering for, the Patriots or the Eagles? So I'm in Texas. I grew up in Texas. I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fans.
If Coach would have put me in fourth quarter, we'd have been state champions, no doubt. No doubt in my mind.
Now, all of you haters out there that are talking right now about my Dallas Cowboys, that's fine. I have no retort to you because they've been awful for 20 years. But when I was growing up in the 90s, they were winning. They won 3 Super Bowl titles. It was glorious. But those days are long gone, but I cannot jump the ship. I'm a Cowboys fan, so with that being said, there is absolutely no way in hell that I will ever root for the Eagles in anything, so I was going for the Patriots. Yeah, whatever, Eagles fans, congratulations. Next question. Next question comes in from Fletcher Meir. Fletcher, I hope I pronounced your last name right. If I didn't, please forgive me. But the question is, why do I love practice pads so much? And I think the reason that I love practice pads so much is because at a young age, I really fell in love with practicing. It was never work to me. I never felt like it was something I had to do. I was just always doing it. And because of that, I like to have variety, because I'm not gonna play a drum, a marching drum at least, indoors. It's just insanely loud. And I already have problems with my hearing as it is from the activity. So I just like to have variety. I wanna have different sounds, different textures, different weights. And so I think that's where the obsession comes in with the practice pad thing. Now, with that being said, I do not recommend that you go out and buy every possible practice pad you can get your hands on. I will also say that that piece of advice coming from me is absolutely the worst advice I could give you, because I have 13 practice pads myself. I wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not. Actually, I'm glad I'm not exaggerating. Yes, I have 13 practice pads, damn it, and I'm proud. The next question comes in from Matteo Coletta, and it is a technical question. He asks, what exercises, tips for practice could I use to help reduce tension in my playing when doing double stroke rolls, primarily at louder dynamics, mezzo forte, and above? Thanks for the question, Matteo. I think that this is a very common issue among a lot of players, and it has to do with the over squeezing of the stick. When most people hold sticks and they start playing fast or loud, they start thinking they have to squeeze more all the way to the back of the hand, when that's not really the case at all. So as you play faster, you're going to want to utilize more rebound off the drum. But in order to do that efficiently, you do have to leave a little window here open in the back of your hand for the stick to pivot off the drum head. So where you squeeze is actually going to be in your fulcrum here, in your index finger and your thumb, to ensure that you're controlling that rebound and that force coming off the head to create either a faster or a louder double. Now, if you're going slower, you will hold on a little bit more, but you won't be squeezing. The points of contact in the back of the hand are going to stay on the stick at all times. The stick will come off the palm a little bit, but you shouldn't ever bring your fingers off the stick like so, because if you do, you're relinquishing all the control you have, especially at the louder volumes. So 2 tips I would suggest you do. One is to try to play a fairly moderate fast double stroke roll, but I really want you to try to squeeze everything, squeeze the life out of the stick and feel just how much tension that creates. It's gonna feel absolutely awful and create all kinds of unwanted tension. But the point of this is for you to recognize what that feels like. The second thing I want you to do is to try to play a fast roll as well, but try to be loose in the fulcrum. And you'll notice that you won't have any control over the stick, because you're not going to be able to control the force and action of the rebound off the drum. Even a pad, you're not going to be able to control it. So you have 2 sides of the spectrum. You have the spectrum of holding on too tight, not holding on tight enough. In the middle there's going to be a sweet spot of amount of pressure that you're going to put on the fulcrum as well as on the back of the hand. And that's going to allow you to find just how much pressure you need to apply to control the rebound of the stick at all the dynamic volumes possible. So experiment with that a little bit. If you have more questions, leave it down below and I'll be sure to help you out. The next question comes to us from Burger Bre, And the question is, when did I get into percussion? So thanks so much for the question. I actually started at about the same time that I think most people start, and that is in the 6th grade. Now, the 6th grade for me was back in 1992, so it was a while ago.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
And the reason I even initially wanted to play percussion was my older sister's boyfriend was in the drum line at the high school that I ended up going to. That originally turned me on to percussion. So I went into my 6th grade audition, and it seemed to have gone okay because at the time my band director asked if I wanted to try a different instrument, whether it be a woodwind or a brass. And I said, no, I just want to do percussion. So that's how it started. Now, I had no plans on continuing band after 8th grade. I already knew that no matter what, when I got to high school, I was gonna stop drumming because I was gonna play basketball. Clearly, that did not work out. I had a late growth spurt. I think I was 5'4" till my junior year in high school. So needless to say, getting dunked on isn't exactly the funnest thing to do. So I stuck with the drumming thing. Things ended up going all right. I made the snare line my freshman year in high school. And from then on, I was pretty much just locked in. This was my thing, this is what I did, and still continues to this day, some 30 years later almost. 28, 26, whatever. The next question comes in from jmartone561, and his question reads, more of an opinion than a question, but tilted snares or flat top snares, and why? So, thanks for the question, jmartone. I really care more about sound. I think there have been groups that have played extremely well both on tilted snares and flat snares. I think of those late 90s Vanguard lines under Casella. Those lines were smoking and they were on the tilt. And then I think of other groups, of course, that have done really well on flat snares. Now, for me and my group, we use flat snare drums. I think that flat just kind of goes in line with everything else we play. We play marimbas that are flat, we play timpanis that are flat. Again, if you sound good playing on a tilt, then you sound good, and nobody can take that away from you, nobody can say anything. That's just my personal preference. The next question comes to us from gg.soprano over on Instagram. She asks, what is my favorite part of percussion? So, my favorite part of percussion has really changed over time. When I was in high school, I think I spent most of my time focusing on both the drumline activity as well as orchestral percussion. I was really into the region band all-state audition process. I loved the competition side of that activity, and I also just loved doing the drumline thing because, you know, we're at football games, it's just a lot of fun, but I was equally immersed in both of those. I didn't get started in drum set until later on in my high school career. It's probably my junior year in high school. But over time, I've spent a lot of time studying drum set, took a lot of lessons on drum set, and now that has made its way to the forefront of what I enjoy the most about percussion. I enjoy playing gigs, I enjoy playing here just by myself, maybe the headphones, playing the tunes, whatever it is. But for me, drum set allows me to sit and make music a little bit more so, a little bit more in depth on my own, rather than just sitting here with a practice pad and a pair of sticks. I don't own a keyboard. I will play marimba or vibes a little bit at work sometimes if I have free time, but the majority of the time that I spend playing any kind of instrument is definitely going to be drum sets. So that right now, GG, is my absolute favorite part of percussion. The next question comes to us from Bobby_X3 over on Instagram again, and he asks, how did you get started into YouTube? What gave you the idea to start the channel, and how did you get the equipment and everything you need? Thanks for the question, Bobby. So this answer is going to be a little bit strange, but I actually got into YouTube because I play poker. So let me explain. I actually watch a poker vlog by a guy named Andrew Nemi, who started documenting his process as a professional poker player. And I started watching him, I think around episode 13, and I just really enjoyed the documenting process, the creativity process. I had no idea, I didn't watch a lot of YouTube. I didn't even have an Instagram account until I started this channel. So most of the things that I would see were from students of mine at school that would show me this channel or that channel. And so for me, I thought to myself, well, that would be kind of fun to do, but what would I be able to do in front of a camera that I would feel comfortable talking to people about? For me, drumming just happens to be the thing that I've spent the most time in my life on. as far as learning a skill and trying to master it. But I just figured, well, why not? I'll just give it a shot. I'll start an Instagram channel that'll give out 1-minute tips on how to drum better. So I started with my phone, right? I just put my phone up, started recording, and before I knew it, I was already 30 minutes into a recording. So obviously 1-minute video wasn't gonna work on Instagram. So I just uploaded the footage to a computer. I then opened iMovie and just tried learning as I went. I had no experience editing videos, making movies, none of that stuff. Pretty obvious. If you go back and watch episode 1, it's not exactly the greatest thing ever. Over time, I've just become a little bit more competent, a little more comfortable with it. And after waiting to make sure that this was actually gonna be something as far as like something I was gonna stay focused on, I think the jury's still out whether or not this channel is gonna do anything. I then decided to go ahead and make the investment on a camera, proper lights, good microphones, updating my software that I do my edits on. So that's how all this got started. Kind of a scenic route, but we're here, so we'll see how it goes. By the way, if any of you want to check out Andrew's vlog, I did put a link down in the description for you. So the last question actually is a question that many of you have asked, and that is, where did I march and what years did I march? So I did not march drum corps. I did not march indoor drumline. I didn't do any of that. To be quite honest with you, I had a huge hang up on the fact that I didn't march drum corps, so that must mean that I'm not gonna accomplish the things I want to accomplish, when, to be quite frank with you, that has nothing to do with anything. If you wanna march drum corps, go march drum corps. If you don't wanna march drum corps, but you enjoy the activity, then just do the activity. You don't have to march drum corps. You don't have to do an indoor line. It's great to get that experience if that's what you want to do, but that's just the route that I took. So that brings us to the end of our very first Q&A episode, to the end of 1K-Q&A. Thank you to all of you who have sent your questions in. If I did not get to your questions, or maybe you have another one, please leave that in the comment section below. I will definitely get to that for you. And I also left about 4 or 5 questions in the comments for you guys. I want to know a little bit more about you, so make sure you leave your responses to those questions down below. Also, what do you guys think about this format? Do you want to do a little more Q&A or a little bit more day-to-day stuff? Let me know your thoughts on that down below as well. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have yet to do so, please consider joining the community. Hit that red subscribe button down below. And as always, please consider sharing this video using those options over here on your right. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next time.
I dream of you, and I help it if I dream of you every